Hi everyone, Mr. Hawkins with Hawkins Tech, and I've been using the iPad Air 4th generation for the past 3 years. And in this video, I'm going to talk about how this iPad is held up. I'm going to go over the speaker test, the camera test, and I'm also going to mention the pricing of this iPad, and also, should you buy this iPad in 2025? Now, earlier this year in January, I did a review on this iPad. It was my iPad Air 4th generation review in 2025. This is my 3 years later video. So the first thing we're going to start off with is the cameras. Now, opening up the camera app, the iPad Air on the rear has a 12 megapixel rear-facing camera, which is great for taking good photos. See, I just took some photos. And the front-facing camera is also good as well. You can see I'm recording on my iPhone. Let's test out the speakers and see how they hold up with the recording of the audio. I'm recording off of the 7 megapixel front-facing camera on my iPad Air 4th generation. The cameras are really good, and they also are good for FaceTime and Zoom calls. Let's test the rear camera. This is a test using the rear camera on the iPad Air. Honestly, takes very good photos and videos as well. So overall, this device has very good cameras overall. Now let's play back those sounds. Using the rear camera on the iPad Air. Honestly, takes very good. Now let's go into YouTube over to my channel so that I can do a speaker test, as that's the next thing that we're going to be doing. I'm just going to play my newest video. In case if there's any advertisements, we're going to turn down the volume. And we're going to play this video I made a couple days ago. Hi everyone, Mr. Hawkins with Hawkins Tech. And in this video, I'm going to talk about my overall setup of how I do my videos. Now, unlike a lot of YouTubers, so the speakers on this iPad Air hold up pretty good. It does have pretty good speakers. Now, as far as unlocking this particular device, it uses Touch ID in the power button. And I mentioned that in my video back in January. So all you have to do is tap the screen, rest your finger on the power button, tap the screen, place your finger, and the iPad unlocks like so. And you also can press the button and have it unlock that way as well. It doesn't have Face ID like the iPad Pro does. Now I'm going to set the phone down for a second, as I'm going to take the iPad out of the case here. So this is what the iPad looks like out of its case. Here is how the back has held up. Honestly, this iPad has a nice, clean back. Here is the top with the power button. And here is the speakers and the charging port. It is a thin design, much like the iPad Pro. Now I will put it back in its case. Now, as far as how this is held up, well, this is held up pretty good for the past 3 years. I've been using this iPad as my main device for the past 3 years. Now, as far as storage on this particular iPad, that is unfortunately one caveat to consider. This particular device has a base storage of 64 gigabytes. Now, you can get it to 256 gigabytes. You do have that option. It's either 64 or 256. Now, I don't exactly remember the price, or I do. When it was new, the iPad Air, this particular one, was $599. But since it's been out for 4 years already, the price has significantly dropped. Now you can find this device for $399 to $449 for the Wi-Fi only 64 gig / 256 gig variant. If you want to have cellular data, you can typically find this device for around $449 to $499 with the 64 / 256 gig model Wi-Fi plus cellular data. And that is what this one is right here. This is a cellular data iPad Air. It is a cellular data 64 gig iPad Air 4th generation, meaning you could still have internet when you're away from Wi-Fi. Now, this particular variant is a space gray version. Now, as far as how this performs good on iOS 18. When I got this iPad, it was running iPad OS 15, but it runs really good on iOS 18. I haven't ran any recent Geekbench scores, but if I go into Geekbench 6 here, wherever I have it here, if I go ahead and I go into Geekbench 6, the most recent score I ran, I scored 2,087 for single core, 5,049 for multi-core. And I ran that on Saturday. I haven't ran any recent ones, but that is the most recent one that I ran. Now, as far as longevity with this iPad, as I mentioned before, it is running iPad OS 18 with the latest version of 18.3.2. And I would say that you can expect this iPad to get iOS updates at least until 2027, maybe 2026, with iPad OS 19, which is going to be shown off at WWDC in June. I'm not going to install the beta. I might install it on my iPhone, which I'm recording this video off of my iPhone 12. If I get the chance to upgrade my iPhone having the 16, then this phone will become my beta testing device. But I'm not going to put the beta on my iPad, which is my main device. But this device is expected to get iPad OS 19, iPad OS 20, and maybe even iPad OS 21. Now, this does not support Apple Intelligence, but with iPad OS 18, there is a lot you can do with the home screen, including tinting your app icons, which is already something that also with iOS 18 you can do on the iPhone. It's a carried over feature to both the iPhone and the iPad. Apple added them both at the same time. You also can move your icons wherever you want in iPad OS 18, just like you can in iOS 18. There's a lot of features you get with iOS 18, so with the iPad Air 4th generation, you're not really missing out. Now, as far as charging, this device has a USB-C charger. It's a charger that I believe could charge up an iPhone 15. It has a USB-C cable. Now, this is not an iPad Pro, although I know it does look like one. I did do a video, I believe a couple days ago, where I edited a full video using iMovie with this particular iPad. And it did pretty good editing that, saving it to photos and then uploading it to YouTube. And that is this video right here, which I did about, I think that's 3 days ago, a tour of my office setup. So overall, if you should buy this iPad Air, well, I would strongly consider going for a refurbished iPad Air 5th generation. Now, Apple did drop the iPad Air M3, but even though they dropped that device, I don't think the iPad Air M2 will be significantly lowered in price, as that iPad still goes all the way up to $1,400. But it probably has cheaper deals. Like you can get deals off on the iPad Air M3 or maybe M2. But I would recommend going for the iPad Air M1. The M1 chip has Apple Intelligence. And I did forget to mention, this device has the A14 Bionic chip with 4 gigabytes of RAM. Now that performs pretty good with iPad OS 18. We do some scrolling in Safari. It does pretty great. Then the app library. Scrolling is also good. So overall, this iPad has held up for me pretty good for the past 3 years. And honestly, it is a really good iPad. Now, if you guys liked this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. And leave a comment in the comment section. Which iPad do you have? Comment that on this video, and I will reply to your comment. Whether you're using the iPad Air or the iPad Pro, or maybe even the iPad Mini, leave a comment on this video. I'm Mr. Hawkins with Hawkins Tech, and I will see you guys later. Peace.